I'm very pleased to be here with you today to speak on the subject of energy efficiency. Not too long ago, I was giving a talk on this very same subject of energy efficiency and the need to conserve our energy resources. And after I finished the talk, I look out in the audience and I see people with their eyes closed, like they were asleep. So I said to my colleague afterwards, I said, "Was I that boring that people are falling asleep?" And being very kind to me, he said, no, it wasn't that your talk was boring. The audience was just doing what you asked them to do, conserving energy. So ladies and gentlemen, while I want all of you, all of us to conserve energy, please wait until after my talk today. I'm going to start today with a very brief description of the challenge that we face. I would like to propose an objective as a basis for discussing energy policy initiatives and options, then touch on why energy efficiency matters, how to capture the benefits. I'll conclude with a few examples and a summary. First of all of us know from what we have experienced globally over the last couple of years that we have a significant economic challenge. As this chart shows on the left, we expect to see continued growth in global population and an increase in population to about 8 billion people by 2030. The economic challenge is how, with that growth in population, we can grow GDP per capita. So we want to see the economic growth exceed that of population growth. GDP per capita is a measure of improvement in the standard of living. So the good news in our outlook as we look forward is that we do expect to see economic growth well in excess of the population growth. So there's reason for optimism with respect to the economic challenge and lifting people out of poverty around the world. As these two charts illustrate, we expect to see demand growth for energy at a lower rate than the economic growth rate. Again, that's good news, indicating more output for less input, higher efficiency. Thirdly, we face an environmental challenge. So as we see energy demand grow, and until or unless we get to a point where a much larger percentage of the energy production is low carbon or involves carbon capture, the expectation is, and the forecast is, we'll continue to see, at least in the non-OECD countries, some growth in CO2 emissions. Our environmental challenge, of course, is to reduce the overall impact of energy production and energy consumption and to manage our greenhouse gas emissions. Here too we see a little bit of a room for optimism when we look at what is happening in the OECD countries that are shown in the blue on this chart. Here our forecast is will actually the greenhouse gas emissions will be declining going forward, which is good news. We still have a ways to go to get to a point where we see total greenhouse gas emissions declining globally. So, with that significant challenge and the interrelationship, the dependency of economic growth, energy, and the economy, I'd like to propose a shared objective. What are we trying to accomplish when we look at these challenges? And I put it this way. We'd like to see continued economic growth with less energy demand growth and reduced environmental impact. So as we think about our options or policy or how best to meet the challenge, we can weigh against this objective. So why are we talking about energy efficiency? Well, first of all, as I said before, energy efficiency means accomplishing the same output with less energy input, improving efficiency in the use of energy. using energy more wisely. This, of course, is fully aligned with our shared objective, because if we use energy more wisely, we can still achieve that economic growth, that economic development. We can reduce the environmental impact, and we can reduce the energy consumption required to achieve that economic output. Secondly, the potential benefits associated with improved energy efficiency are greater than all alternative sources of energy supply combined. As we look forward to 2030, as shown on this chart, if we see continued improvement in energy efficiency, which has been our track record, we have seen improvement in efficiency in years past. We see continued improvement in energy efficiency. The potential savings by 2030 over this time frame, is about 300 quadrillion BTUs. That's roughly equivalent to 55 million barrels a day of oil. That's a lot. It's a huge, huge potential benefit. And of course, if you're able to reduce that energy consumption and have those kinds of savings in energy use, you also see tremendous benefit in terms of reduced CO2 emissions.